Adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming. It's a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives.
My name is Trevor, and I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old.
All right, so Jeff left me last week with
Yes.
a horrific cliffhanger that I've had to just stew on all week. And it was something to the effect of, hey, next week remind me for a topic, and we're going to call it Blame Trevor.
Yes.
So it's like, so welcome to the new week, new episode. Relieve me of my burden. What did I do? How did I besmirch you, sir?
Right. So a couple episodes ago, maybe the listeners can remember as well, you suggested we were talking about, deck builders and card games. And you're like, hey, did you know that there's Gwent?
Yeah.
And I did not know necessarily. I'm like, oh, yeah, I maybe have heard of it, but never downloaded it. Well, after that episode, ran to the App Store and downloaded this sucker and then couldn't put it down for a couple hours. So
Oh, amazing.
it was an immediate blame Trevor because I was now locked in to, I think that was what we talked
Witcher
about.
world.
That's right. It was my gateway into these type of games. I'm like, I really love the world. I love the fantasy art. I love everything about The Witcher. I've read the books. And then this one is like, oh, damn it. They got me into a card game, like a deck builder where I enjoy doing it. And in Witcher 3, I love playing Gwent. So this is just more of that. And I was playing online games and I hate online games. I don't hate them, but
Yes.
I avoid them, right? I would
got you.
rather
Yeah.
single player it. But I was playing against people and building my deck and just having a great time. So
That's amazing. Jeez.
yeah.
That is huge. I wonder, so what is it that would bring you across that line? Because there's a lot of things you hate within that, because you hate card builders.
Yeah.
It's been established. And you hate, as you just said, in it, online builders. Online kind of competitive play like that.
Yeah.
So what brought you across? Is it because it's just Witcher and you'll take any Witcher you can get? Or was this game crafted in such a way that somebody who doesn't ordinarily play card games would be enticed into playing it?
Okay, so it is a bit of both. Witcher 3 World I love, so that got me interested for sure. Otherwise, if this was anything else, I'd be like, no, not for me. But it has a lot of the character art, a lot of the lore, everything is kind of built into that world. Even the battle landscapes are part of it, right? They're actual locations within the fictional world. And then it's very easy to get up and running. They give you a lot of free cards, a lot of decks to earn and get going. So right now it's, again, something that if you don't really like deck builders or not really into that kind of genre of gaming, if you do like Witcher or any fantasy kind of art, this can get you in. And it's very simple mechanics. Again, rock, paper, scissors to a point. There are alternative kind of skill sets to each card that you do have to read up on as you get more further into the game and a little bit more complex. And I think that's where I'm going to hit a wall where you're up against people with amazing decks, and then I haven't paid enough to get those kind of decks. And I think that's kind of where these deck builders maybe stall a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, it ends up being, at that point it's like 3D chess. They're playing 20 moves ahead, well, I got a dragon and it's got pretty powerful. And then you just get destroyed. That's very much what I hit with Magic and some of those other games. But interesting, man. That is not something I would suspect you ever getting into. So how awesome, how wonderful.
I know. So again, it's a blame Trevor moment in a good way. It was thanks for this newfound addiction. So
you are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
You have to keep us posted to see if you keep up with it. Now your kids, I know they collect Pokemon cards, as mine do. As my kids have never actually played a game of Pokemon, They have played like a bastardized version that they created themselves, as far as like, okay, this guy attacks, and they just came up with whatever rules.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But generally speaking, getting the cards is not about playing the card game. Have your kids actually ever played, or do they have interest in playing Pokemon amongst their collection?
So the only time they've actually been interested in playing the game itself was when we went to one of the shops, the Pokemon shops, and they had actual games running with legit cards on the line, right? So that's when they were interested in like, oh, I do want to play this because I want to win that card specifically, instead of necessarily paying for it, right? It's something that you can risk to do. So my 14-year-old was really into doing that. We haven't since gone back, but that's the only kind of turnkey moment for them. Otherwise, they just want to collect the cards. They don't care much about the mechanics of the game at all. So
adore it. So hey, I will take that blame. Happy to do so. Now, it did allow you the opportunity to dip your toe back into the world. Probably since this podcast, what I would call your comfort game, your safe home, where you always want to return to, is definitely Witcher 3. Like
yes,
that is by far like your deepest, most comfortable game. And fascinatingly, you had asked the fellow gaming dads on Blue Sky, social network. We are trying to be anywhere and everywhere at New Dad Gaming, but also having a Blue Sky account. And you'd ask dads there, hey, like what's your go-to comfort game?
Yeah.
Right? At any particular time with what's going on with the world, what's your go-to comfort game? And it sounds like you had quite the resounding response, and varied, interestingly.
Yeah, overwhelming response. So thanks again to everybody that was out there writing in. Got over 100 comments within the day of posting it with multiple varieties of games, anywhere from Mario Galaxy, which is what we're seeing on screen, right? So something a little bit more nostalgic for people and playful, to anything to like Dishonored or Bloodborne. Even Balatro was mentioned, just as like again, I could pick up and play a game. And then a lot of people even went to old Nintendo games like Mega Man, and some genres I wasn't expecting, where people kind of fell comfort into like Resident Evil, right? They're like, oh, once you play through it a couple times, it's no longer about the jump scares. It's just about being in this cozy kind of place, right?
Resident Evil. So
Resident Evil.
I had a rough day, and I just need to like unwind and unpack for a bit. Let's do a little bit of Resident Evil.
Right?
Okay.
And like, I can kind of relate to it because Witcher 3 is a brutal world. Like, it is not a fun, bubbly Mario Galaxy type world, but I do feel a sense of comfort in it in a weird way. It's just like, it's so immersive, I think, is the point. So I can understand maybe some of the horror fans that really enjoy just dipping into that type of game. But there's also mentions of like The Sims, which can go on forever. So in your own life, if you want to be in a cozy virtual life, boot up The Sims and have, a little bit more control, I guess, which was kind of fun to hear. But then had a couple good recommendations that I would kind of even just run by you to consider.
Yeah.
So Tiny Glade, I think I've mentioned that before. Or at least
Glade.
It was recently released. It's just basically a little sandbox where you just build little kind of castles and paint the roofs, add windows. There's like little ponds and water. Yeah, so you're building these little cityscapes, almost like a diorama, I guess.
Yeah,
so
super gorgeous looking. Like the what's that photo method called where everything looks tiny, as if they're like super micro?
Oh yeah, like the tilt shift.
Tilt shift, yeah. So it looks like sort of tilt shifty, slightly cartoony, but like kind of gorgeous rendering as far as somewhat realistic. And and you just build. I don't know I think there's like in this land you're supposed to build at least get something this high or build something this much. I think there are to do.
There's probably goals,
But
earn.
Generally speaking, it's kind of just like this quiet, hey, build a little castle, man. What's going on?
Just hang out in this little kind of nook in this corner of the world. So that was one that I have on the wish list now. Another is called it's called Kind Words 2. Have you heard of this one?
No, I have not.
It is basically a virtual pen pal game.
Okay, go on.
So you log on and you think that you put your thoughts down virtually in game on these little paper airplanes, and sometimes they can be thoughts of happiness, thoughts of sadness, whatever you're kind of feeling, and you send it off into the virtual world, and then those kind of planes circulate in whatever kind of server, and other people answer them, right? So they check in with you. Maybe they're just kind of validating you. Maybe you're becoming their little, pen pal therapist and helping them through something that, they don't feel so alone in. And I thought that was just really interesting. That's something that I hadn't really heard of before, let alone pen pals, kind of like Kind Words 2, that there is a first one out there.
Yeah, so it's, jeez. The number of games that like pass us by that you have no concept that ever even existed is fascinating. And what's wild about this, like I'd almost expect that I could expect a mechanic where it's the story and gameplay is done through letter writing. Okay.
Right.
But the fact that it's actual letters from other people, like the way that opens them up to a bunch of challenges with allowing people to write things and other people to see them. And the fact that they've done it, man, that's like kind of cool. Like I'd have no clue that this is here.
Yeah, I just found that kind of, again, a nice little comforting game, or it can be, right? Where you're interacting with others, but not necessarily directly. You're just kind of in a more passive way.
Yeah.
So that was a cool recommendation. Again, it's on my wish list now. So I'm just building my Christmas list as from these comfort games to dive in. But
Watch
yeah, a
that
lot of
Steam
Nintendo
sale.
games, a lot of, nostalgia pixel games. Stardew Valley was mentioned quite a few times. Minecraft a couple times. Terraria. A lot of the games I play with the kids are people's comfort games as well.
That would
which
make
was
sense.
interesting too.
Amazing. No, well, hey, dads out there, thanks so much for writing in like that. We really appreciate that. And I think talking to fellow gaming dads, both with what they're experiencing with their little ones or they themselves, by far the best part about doing this podcast. So if you yourself have a comfort game that works for yourself or your kids, or any other topic that we talked to today, write into us at New Dad Gaming or newdadgaming.com. And that's on all the socials, so Instagram, X, or Blue Sky, wherever you can find us. I'd love to hear from you guys. So what might become somebody's next comfort game very much could be the recent release of Mario and Luigi Brothership. This game, so first, as always, the same like upfront discussion, Nintendo did gift us copies of this game to review, which was amazing, but per the policy of the show, we do not talk about games that we don't like, genuinely, and we have before received codes and not talked about those games.
Right.
So the reason we're talking about this is like this game is a winner. Like this game is... I'd be curious about your take on it. I'll start. It felt like a somewhat logical extension to Super Mario All-Stars Superstars. Mario RPG. Sorry,
RPG,
Mario
yeah. Yep.
Just specifically with the world, like the colors, the mechanics, and especially with it's a turn-based RPG in the very classic sense. You can see the enemies walk around on screen. If you bump into you, then you can fight them. When you do a action against them, you select it, but then you can also time your hit so that if you do, you get rewarded, you get extra hits.
Yeah.
Right. So just like in Super Mario RPG, I'll say this has ruined every RPG for me. Where for all of my history, and I think going back to, I remember hearing it about Final Fantasy, the original one. Like,
Yeah.
oh, do you know if like your hit goes much better if you time it correctly just when you hit
time
them?
it.
So every hit I ever did on Final Fantasy 1, like I hit that button again. I don't know if you did the same thing.
I
But
did,
this-
yeah.
Yeah, but this one does it explicitly because very much like Super Mario RPG, it's like, oh, these fools think that works. Let's just build that in as a mechanic. It'll feel super powerful.
Yeah.
But what you see with this is, again, from the time you hit start to get to the story to get into the game, pretty brief. Like they set up the world, but then you're just in it, and then you're doing some battles, and it's kind of classic RPG, leveling up, fighting characters, going to different worlds, and much like the recent Nintendo releases, it doesn't feel like they are resting, or they just kind of, hey, let's just put something out. Like this again to me feels like I don't want to say stretch, but they are going for it. They are really trying to craft something of interest, of something different that people can kind of like get behind. So with my time with it thus far, I've been having a blast. I just love the style, like the art style and the battle system. And it's kind of fun to have a old RPG, honestly, at this time, as far as like turn-based system. I do worry that I loaded that up too much because perhaps you don't like it. We've got this far.
No, so everything you said there, I agree with for the most part, but I was just misinformed on what this game was.
Okay.
And I'll explain. When we got the codes, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait all day until my 11-year-old gets home from school. We'll boot it up and we'll play. So we do that.
No.
Right? Because it's called Mario and Luigi Brothership. You probably know where I'm going with this. I'm like, it's got to be a co-op game, or at least I assumed it was. Because why would you title it in that way, right? So we started up. We go through the tutorial. I'm like, oh, maybe you have to get Luigi, and then I can play.
Yeah.
Nope. So just PSA to any parent out there that maybe is picking it up for themselves to play with their kid, or has multiple kids and think they can play together. It is a strictly single player game. There is no added other way to play this, even like an Odyssey type way where one controls a hat or something. No, this is a single player
Straight
game.
up.
Yes, which kind of defeats the name. I thought for sure.
It seems like a bit of a miss, but you'd have to make a decision because they set out to build an RPG, old school RPG.
Yeah,
And that's what they've done. And there's not. I can recall one RPG that had it was. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was the RPG classically, except the actual fighting was done very much as a 2D side scroller.
okay.
And you could have a second player come in and battle with you. And I cannot for the life remember the game, but I remember that was one of the things is if you did have a second controller in battle was done real time, and you could get a second person, which actually benefited you great. But other than that type of it was never going to really work.
No, like I could see it in the battle system, just even with it being turn-based. One controls Luigi and the other one, and then you have to time it between each other, right? Like again, if you time those hits, you can do the like the tag team part of it where Luigi throws up Mario and then you get to hit again. Those were kind of neat. I'm like, oh, that would have been a perfect co-op mechanic.
Yeah.
Or at least a frustrating one if your kid can't time it or old dad can't time it.
Son, we're never going to get to the boss if you don't start carrying your damn weight and hitting that B button, please.
We're failing. But yeah, other than that, I had a great time with it. I watched my kid play for half an hour, and then we switched in. I had to go with it. And it was just, a fun, cute little game. Reminds me very much of Super Mario RPG as well as Paper Mario.
Yeah.
It has that kind of, roam the world, turn-based kind of game for the battles at least. And then go through, I don't know, the story seems pretty big to me. There's like 7 worlds or something.
Yeah.
So.
Now this is based on it was Game Boy Advance titles, wasn't it? Like Bowser's Inside Story, I think was like the first time they was introduced like this.
I think you're right. There was a previous entry to this series in some form, but it wasn't called like a Brothership title. It wasn't. Yeah, I'm
pretty sure it's like Bowser's Inside Story, and I seem to recall it being on the GBA, and it was just all of this type of RPG style, and I can specifically remember the animation of like Mario and Luigi throwing each other up and like slamming down and going across like that. Yeah. So another bank, like they've had a heck of a year, like with the titles they've released. Like it's just been unique. It's been interesting. It's been fun, and I'm just always so impressed with the UI. Honestly, like just all the menus, like all of the animations, the transitions, and everything. Like they're just really going for it, and it just feels like such high caliber and quality that it there's like consoles and there's gaming, and then there's just Nintendo. Like like Nintendo continues to be just kind of on their own little island somehow.
Yeah, they always provide that quality, right? You can always step into this game and be like, everything works, Everything's easy to read. Again, my 11-year-old could go through it no problem. So it's just, yeah, you can expect that from Nintendo. And I'm surprised that they released yet another kind of Mario Luigi game so close to possibly their next console launch, right?
Yeah.
They could have held this back if they wanted to, even for a little launch game for the next one. But it is cool to have before Christmas, for sure.
Good timing. Hey, so Nintendo, thanks for the codes. As I said, we don't review it unless we both genuinely like it, and this was just another banger of a title. I think I will be curious to see what I would like to report on. Last episode, we had discussed how RPGs may die with us.
Oh, right. Yes.
And I'm curious, like, so mine haven't had really a chance to get into it. I'd like to see if they will. They're a little on the young side. I'm not sure if it will. But yours,
yeah,
I am curious, could this be the bridge that brings them over to RPGs? Because when your youngest there, or when your younger one there did play it, like, were they saying, I can't wait to keep playing this? Or was it like, I get it, that's fine?
I think they will go through and they completed Paper Mario, so I can see them just sticking with this and maybe just running through it. Again, they read none of the tutorial messages or any of the story. It's just click, click, click through.
You kind of just don't want to let them play in that case, right? It's like, you know what? No, just don't. Just stop. Like, you're not doing it right.
Right? That was where I sat down. I'm like, okay, maybe Dad needs to play the first half hour so that we know what we're doing and the predicament that we're in and where Luigi is.
I'm gonna bring you in when we need to grind and we need to get like this extra like items. Tell you what,
get all the coins so Dad can get bigger boots for Mario to get more points, right?
So I can get the golden gloves on top of his white ones. All right, hey, gaming dads out there, if you've had a chance to play with this one, reach out to us at New Dad Gaming, newdadgaming.com. Now I sent you a screenshot of what I was playing it on that evening. I should have had that queued up. Hold on, I might actually be able to get it kind of quick for our audience. We'll give it 1 second. Trevor's going to Google something.
You were playing games.
I was playing games. So we're going to put this here. We're going to put this down over here. So I'd sent... It almost felt a little bit mean, if I'm honest, as far as like, hey, Jeff, look what I'm doing. Look what I got.
Yeah. Not jealous at all. Whatever.
It's like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, so I'm dipping into Mario and Luigi Brothership. Check out the screen. And what I revealed to him was floating in my living room, 130-foot television screen, just like lording over me. Because what I believe I mentioned last episode, I had gotten the Quest 3.
Yes.
As an upgrade, I have been incredibly enjoying it. But what arrived was a capture card. So a software update that Meta produced was, if you have a capture card, which is often used in gaming, streaming, or whatever else, you could just plug it into the headset, which it's kind of a funny visual because you got like you look dorky enough as it is because you got this big white blob on your face,
right?
And then you have this like wire jacked into the side. It's like, I'm a super cool futuristic VR man now.
Look at this TV I have.
But with that capture card, they had this app, and then it becomes HDMI in, and whatever HDMI is in, you can just have as a virtual screen in like mixed reality or virtual reality. So you could put this into like a fake theater setup, or like a camp projector, or like anywhere else, like somewhere out in the stars, or just with pass through your actual environment.
Right.
So even with the Switch, I was able to use its dock, HDMI in, and then just had this huge Mario and Luigi Brothership screen like floating about as I went.
Not jealous at all. No.
Man, it was so great. I'd like to be sensitive at the same time. Like, man, it was so damn cool. Like,
no, I will take part in your joy. I will live vicariously through you. Don't worry.
And it's something I've been really, for gaming, it's something I've been really experiencing. And I'll give you like another example, like where I'm starting to extend this is I got, for my gaming PC, I actually picked up a second plug, AC adapter.
Okay.
Because like when I use it for work and it's like locked, it's like plugged into 1,000 things so I can do my job, right? And especially for the plug to move it somewhere else, it becomes a burden.
Right.
But my intention now is to actually take it upstairs and perhaps even like into the bedroom where my wife will kind of chill out at the end of the evening, and have that on the side, and then have have my dorky headset as we're kind of preparing for bed, and then just be projecting some like 100-foot screen to play a game, and just have it like right there beside me.
Yeah.
So between that and then this thing also does game streaming. So you can stream to Steam. So in that way I can even just keep it downstairs, or I can stream Xbox Game Pass and play a bunch of games. I'm sort of using it as an impetus to try to extend gaming to anywhere in the house, and use this pass through this big screen to try to be enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it sounds fantastic. Again, if you can have games anywhere at any time, whatever you want, and just slap on the big dorky visor, I'm all for that. Again,
The big dorky visor.
Not jealous at all.
Yeah,
it'd be great. You could do tasks around the house. You could be mowing the lawn and just playing Brothership.
Yeah. You just don't look cool. There were some videos of like dorks with Quest 3 driving their cars with it.
That's a little much.
The pass-through's good, but that's not what it is meant for. They're doing it to it was a stunt. They weren't actually going on the highway, but just still, it makes one wonder.
You bet your kids soccer game. You'd be like, hold on, and just
just a sec.
You're playing FIFA as they're playing soccer.
I'll say the more interesting one would be the plane. Let's say you have a 6-hour flight, and you strap on that headset.
Have you seen anyone do that? Would you do that?
There's the thing. I don't know that I can. It's just it seems there seems to be some social norms we have.
Yeah, yeah.
And look, I'm comfortable with who I am, and so it's not like I'm trying to hide it. But ultimately, it's just man, this is it feels like a bridge too far, man. This is just wild. I'm sitting there poking at the air because you'd have to control it with your damn hands.
Yeah, you would.
So you're sitting there and they're just trying to have a coffee and read a meeting brief, and you're sitting there with your stupid hands pinching the air, with
looking at them, staring at them, okay, buddy.
So I don't know if I can.
Would you do it with a movie though? You said, 180-foot screen or whatever. You could just watch a movie.
Sweet. Yeah, I know, that'd be pretty wild. That'd be wonderful. I think the gaming thing would be awesome. I think especially if you had your Steam Deck, which could then HDMI in, and then you just have this 100-foot screen in front of you.
You're trying to sell it to me now.
No, I'm not. I'm just laying the foundation.
Right. Blame Trevor. Just put that on the captions for next week again. Blame Trevor.
This show is nothing but that. So, all right, now I would like to almost invoke a little bit of fandom, console wars here.
Okay.
Because through this, something very interesting has come up, and I'd like you to put I would like some way to almost solve this. And this might be very well known, and perhaps we're just in the dark, and I'd love to be just immediately corrected. Okay. Right? So something that has come up from this is my first experimentation is I had a PS4 just here in the office. And if you recall, it's from 4 or 5 episodes ago, I bought NHL 17 and loaded it in this old disc and just been having a fantastic time playing this old hockey game.
Right.
Now, and as I'm talking, I'd like you to watch the screen. The first one I'm showing here is NHL 17.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hand over my heart. I've had both of these systems on the big screen TV. I've had both these systems in my headset. I would swear to you that NHL 17 on the PS4 looks better than NHL 24 on the Xbox Series S.
That's crazy.
So a game that is near 8 years old looks better on last gen console than the recent version on the latest console on the latest version of NHL. I think they might be up to 25 now, but it's just and I'm telling you, man, I'm looking at it and I plugged that. I have had the Xbox plugged into the same headset that I used. I've had that PS4 plugged into an HD TV. I've had the Xbox plugged into a TV, and I look at the two of them,
Right.
It's like, I swear to God, 17 just looks better. Like, especially like they show these close-ups of the goalies like kind of flexing in between. And
Yeah.
every time on the PS4, it's remarkable how good like the jerseys and everything look.
Huh.
Okay, so you've been watching. That was NHL 17.
17.
Now,
Yeah.
I am curious if it is like the S, right? If it's because it's like the NHL, because it's the Xbox Series S and not the X. Like perhaps the X would look much, much better. And I think it would stand to reason that the PS5 should probably be about the best of it.
Yeah, but we're talking 8 years of.
I'm trying. That's.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not remotely close at all. Like, you legit think that 17 looks better, right?
I think it just looks better. I don't know what to tell you. Like, not the thing. Like, to be fair, like there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like they're tiny little bodies on a white sheet of ice. Like,
I was wondering, like, when was the PS4 kind of dying? Like 2019 was like the end life cycle, I guess.
I believe so. Yeah.
So like maybe they had mastered the craft of like PS4 / Xbox Series. What was it before? I got One X or whatever it is. Maybe they mastered that kind of part of the console, and then these other consoles, they haven't got there yet, or they water them down to kind of push them across. I don't know.
And in some ways, like in a sense, I kind of perhaps this is not so surprising. Let's put it this way: Call of Duty from 2000. Let's even say 22. I'm not going to try to come up with a number. I'm not sure where they are. The numbering was always confusing to me. But let's say the Call of Duty that was released in 2020 even, right?
Right.
Would people look at that from a visual fidelity kind of standpoint and then compare it to this year's entry? And is it really a massive, ridiculous jump as far as graphics? Right? Because I would contend it's probably not, but that's not the point. The point of the new thing every year is not, I cannot wait for these graphics to be 50 times better. It's more, I can't wait for this year's content. This will be fun.
Yeah.
So perhaps in some ways these games are kind of like in maintenance mode where it's, okay, make it look good, but the real push here is to make sure the content's fun.
Yeah. Like, I mean...
Just like...
it is hockey, so like the mechanics don't change too much. Like it's a content update as long as, do you know what I mean? Like the animations, you can improve upon them or at least clean them up. But I've seen this with like even Age of Empires, let's say, just Microsoft product. They've gone more like cartoony graphics, right? Just as a design direction. So even that could be just, hey, we're just going to take our foot off the gas of like realism here. And just make it like a fun, playable thing, like you're kind of getting to, right? Just
because this, especially like with the faces, like you're watching this here, it's like the faces and everything, like it's incredibly wooden. The animations are like fine, but it's like the faces are like they're dead, like they look like zombies.
There's no
like,
souls. They forgot the soul.
So and the animations ultimately, just because by the nature of the game, it's like they end up like kind of just like janking and like jumping around because there's only so much smoothness you can add.
Right.
I don't there's nothing to solve here. I just if anything, it was a soft float of a controversial boat out to sea of new dads to say, have you noticed the same thing where kind of perpetual titles like hockey or football or whatever else are kind of the same for the past 5 years? And what I'm seeing is just sort of like, yeah, that's just how these games work. Or am I off my rocker and I don't know what I'm talking about? Is it an Xbox versus PS4 thing PlayStation thing where PlayStation is just better visual fidelity? So let's ignite that, a soft ignite of a console war from gaming dads. Would like to hear people's opinion to see if I'm totally at the lunch or if there's something here that I'm not catching. I'd be happy to hear that. And with that, that is a good place to wrap up the show. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you like the show and you'd like to support us, really would help out is if you hop over to newdadgaming.com, or reach out to us at newdadgaming. In addition, like, subscribing to the podcast helps us hugely. So if you go to iTunes, Google Play, Caster, Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcasts, look for New Dad Gaming and give us a subscription. A rating really helps, and a comment also. Boost the signal. Tell you what, use that opportunity to flame me and my ignorance about consoles and how bad I don't understand how terrible Xbox is, or vice versa. Would love to hear it. Any engagement would really appreciate it. And as I said, at New Dad Gaming, we're on all the socials, Blue Sky, Instagram, and X at New Dad Gaming. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Well, until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 14-year-old, 11-year-old, and I will be playing Brothership by myself before my 11-year-old gets to it.
This Brothership sure is lonely. This Brothership is somehow a very singular affair. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take this.
Solo ship.
Oh, you know, it's not solo ship. This friendship, Jeff.
Perfect.
All right. Till next. Just remember. Just because. It's like there's a line in there somewhere. I need to say it. Remember, just because you became a dad
Does not mean it's game over.